Hey there, everybody. We're going to look today at how to actually do something called the factored label method. I usually abbreviate this with the acronym FLM. Some people call this same method the fence post method. I've also heard this called the picket fence method. I've heard it called unit analysis. Whatever you call it, it's all the same thing. Basically, I actually prefer the name factored label method because we use something called a factor, and as we do this, you'll see what a factor is. And labels or units, it maybe is a more appropriate word here, but a label is the same thing as a unit. And we're going to use units, okay? When we do this, in fact, really units are everything when we do factored label method. The units tell us what we're doing, so we need to actually take our units and we really need to trust what our units are telling us because they dictate if we're multiplying, they dictate if we're dividing. So the units themselves drive this whole thing. Okay, so first thing I'd like to do is just start with a real quick math review and take a look at some things that make the factor label method actually work. So let's take a very simple math problem, and let's say we take the number 2 and we divide it by itself, or we divide it by 2. We of course are looking for an answer here, and we should all know that when we divide 2 by 2 we get 1. Likewise, let's take another one. Let's say I take the number 8 and divide it by the number 8. Hopefully again this shouldn't be that challenging for us. We know that when we take 8 divided by 8 we get 1. In a sense, I could also say 1 over 1. In a sense, what happens is this number on top gets canceled out by the other one. We're taking 8 divided by 8, we get 1. If I have some number a divided by another number a, this will also, of course, it's not an equal sign. There we go. That will also equal 1. Okay, so one of the factors, or one of the things that we need to kind of understand in math is that when we have something on the top and something on the bottom, and as long as they're the same thing, such as this 8 and this 8, this 2 and this 2, or some number a and some number a, they're going to cancel out. And what I really mean by canceling out is that they equal 1. This is really a key idea for how the factor label method works. Alright, so as we continue, I'm also going to direct your attention to the notes that you should have in front of you. These are the actual steps that we're going to use to do factor label method. I'm going to take you through, and as we actually do an example here, I'm going to actually reference these steps. So it would be handy to have your factor label method steps notes handy as we work through this together. So let's see here. Let me just pause this for a second. Alright, so the example we're going to actually take a look at, let's take the height of something, and the example we're going to use my height, and this is me here. I am 73 inches tall. Now, typically we don't talk about how many inches tall we are, we talk about how many feet we are. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this number and we're going to figure out how many feet this is. So in effect, we're going to convert inches into feet. Factor label method actually allows us to do that. So step number 1, again, if you're referencing the steps, step number 1 says write the number we are converting as a fraction. And you can write any number as a fraction by taking it and putting it over 1. Notice there's no units here. This is a common mistake. People want to put units on the bottom. There are no units in this bottom, so it is simply 73 inches over 1. I haven't changed anything. Putting it over 1 changes absolutely nothing. It just makes it a fraction, and you'll see why we want to do that in here in just a second. The next step says look at conversion factors. Conversion factors are things like 12 inches equals a foot, or 3 feet equals a yard, or 5,280 feet equal a mile. So we're going to look at those and try to figure out which one would work in our case. So again, those conversion factors that I was just talking about, I just rewrote them here. Basically, our conversion factors are things that say these things are equivalent to one another. 3 feet does equal 1 yard. 5,280 feet equals 1 mile, and 12 inches equals a foot. So step 2 says, figure out which of these gets us from the thing that we have into the thing that we want. In this case, we want to go from inches to feet, and I see feet to yards, feet to miles, inches to feet. So the one that we're going to use is this one right here, that 12 inches equals a foot. Step 3 says multiply by another fraction in order to cancel out our units. So basically what I'm doing here is I want to multiply by another fraction. And remember, this is the important thing, is we have to put the same thing on the top as the bottom to cancel out. So if I want to cancel out my inches, I need to put inches on the bottom. That leaves me with putting feet on the top. We want to make sure that the top things on the top, again, cancel out with things on the bottom. So this top is going to cancel out with this thing right here. Then we want to write the numbers in that correspond here. 1 foot goes with 1 foot, and then 12 inches, of course, goes down here with the 12 inches. So again, we just wrote in the numbers. That's actually step 4. Again, 1 foot does equal 12 inches. So that's a true statement. That's our factor. And step 5 of the factor label method simply says do the math. We want to take the top times the top. This is how this works out here. So we get 73. There's inches. Now what I'm going to show you here is for instructional purposes only, and I'll explain what I would actually do. But I want to show you how this actually works out. When you multiply an inch times a foot, you actually get an inch foot. Now that doesn't really mean much to us right now, and I'll show you what we're going to do here. Down on the bottom, I'm going to take 1 times 12, so that's 12 inches. Now remember, when we have one thing on the top and a thing on the bottom, they actually end up canceling out. So in actuality, what we're going to have is this inches canceling out with this inches, leaving us with a foot. That's a good thing, because notice that feet is what we actually wanted to end with in the end anyway. So for instructional purposes, I've shown you that really this really does give you an inch foot when you multiply these things. But really, what I really do when I'm actually doing this myself, I say, you know what, I know that I put this inches on the bottom to cancel out this inches on top. So I do the canceling before I ever do the multiplication. I would actually cancel it here for real. But I did want to show you for instructional purposes that this really is on the top and that really is on the bottom. Well, when I do the math, if I'm not mistaken, when you take 73 divided by 12, you end up with 6.08, and the units left over after canceling everything out are feet. So when you look at how tall I am, 73 inches is equivalent to 6.08 feet. So that's almost 6 1/10 feet. Okay, so for example 2, let's take this same height, this is my height in inches, and let's actually convert it to a different unit. This is the unit of meters. So again, we're going to start with step 1. Step 1 says write the thing we're converting as a fraction, and I'm going to do that. It's 73 inches over 1. Now I know I'm going to multiply by a fraction, so I'm just going to write that down here. The next step says look at the conversion factors that you have. I've written a couple more up here that might come in handy. Always keep in mind your end result. So let's see if we have an inches to meters up here. I see feet to yards. Doesn't seem good. Feet to miles. That's not the same thing. Inches to feet. No. Inches to centimeters. No, we want inches to meters. Centimeters to meters. Nope. Meters to kilometers. No. So it might seem like we're actually stuck here. We don't have a conversion, or at least not here, that takes us directly from inches into meters. So this is what I like to say. We're going to take the scenic route to get our answer. What we actually have to do is do this in 2 steps instead of just 1. We're going to actually have to take inches, convert it to something, and then take that something that it's converted to and convert it into meters. So let's take a look and see if we can find something that kind of fits here in the middle. First of all, I'm going to look for something that's in inches. here's inches. So let's check this one out right here. 12 inches in feet. Let's see if we can find feet over here. I don't see feet over there, so we're gonna not use that one. Let's check, here's in inches, and that goes to centimeters. So this is a potential. Here's centimeters to meters. So let's see, inches to centimeters, that would be this one, and then centimeters to meters, there it is. So what we're going to actually be able to do, we can't go this route because we don't have a direct conversion, but we will be able to use these two conversion factors to actually work this out. Okay, so I've already taken the opportunity here to write out the units. In step 3 it says multiply by fractions, so that we're going to cancel out. Remember that I'm canceling out things on the top by putting them on the bottom, so inches are gone. Centimeters are not what I want. I want to get meters, so again centimeters here is on the top, it gets canceled out by this one on the bottom, leaving me with meters, which is what my desired unit is. The next step is to actually put in the numbers that go in here. And again, I get these right from here. I don't have to come up with these in any way. Let me just zoom in here. 2.54 centimeters in every inch, and for every meter there are 100 centimeters. So I'm going to multiply across the top. 73 times 2.54 times 1. And then I'll multiply across the bottom. 1 times 1 times 100. I'm going to pause for a moment and get you the answer for that. So when I've multiplied across the top, I get 185.42. The leftover units are meters. When I multiply across the bottom, I get 100. Notice again all the units in the bottom canceled out. When I take this 185.42 divided by 100, I get approximately 101.85 meters. I just did some rounding I usually round 2 decimal places is what I do here. So that's why there's kind of a loss of decimals. So in summary, we have these steps that you can undergo. These are the steps that I've really used to solve for the factor label method. But ultimately, I think you can really summarize the factor label method if you understand the math behind this. If you can summarize the factor label method in 2 questions, and I'm going to go grab those questions off here, bring them over. And here's the questions you can use to summarize it. When you do the factor label method, do the units cancel, leaving you with the desired units, the desired end unit? So let's take a look. Did I cancel out the units I didn't want? Inches, yes. Centimeters, yes. Leaving me with the desired units. So as long as I can say yes to this, so far I'm on the right track. The next question is, does the top of the factor equal the bottom? The factor are these things here. So these I want to make sure. Does 1 meter really equal 100 centimeters? Yes, that's true. Does 2.54 centimeters really equal 1 inch? Yes, that's true. So as long as I can say yes to both of these questions, I can actually say that I've successfully converted from one unit into another.